Okay. Show me.
Hi there guys, welcome back to the Dutch ST channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. And exciting box, or well, the content of this box should be exciting. This is in fact the first RC airplane from Diatone. You've seen the title of the video, right? This box contains the RIPPER R690. And with that, this is a 690mm, so almost 70 centimeter flying wing from Diatone. And if you follow my channel, you know that I am big into wings. In fact, this here, it doesn't really fit in screen actually, but it's also a 70-ish millimeter flying wing, which I built myself. This is my mini wing version 2, and I've had it for years. Again, if you are a long time subscriber, you might recognize this plane, but it's been a while. Might actually be fun to compare the two in a future flight video. For now, let's have a look at the RIPPER R690 from Diatone. Disclaimer, I got me this plane for free from Diatone. So yeah, and also I'm not completely sure actually whether this box contains electronics. I haven't looked at things yet. We'll look at them together. Diatone sells this as a airframe only, so without electronics. Just so you know, the description on the product pages are pretty clear, I think. And there will be a couple of links in the description down below, one to the Diatone site and one to Banggood. Again, I think the product pages are pretty clear in stating that this is sold as an airframe only without electronics. The electronics that are or may be included with this set might give you a good indication, however, what is the appropriate setup for this airplane. I'm actually not completely sure whether the retail version will have Diatone branding or not. Doesn't really matter, but it's a sturdy box. You will get it in this type of box. And in this box you will find several other boxes with bits and pieces. Fuselage, probably, wings and such. Let's take everything out. Alright, I am now left with 4 smaller boxes, and definitely everything is well packaged, so that's a good start, I guess. The biggest box contains one a wing, 2 a wing, and a wing spar. And that wing spar looks to be either glass fiber or plastic. Yeah, definitely not carbon fiber. Then this medium box contains one fuselage with a bit of wire in it. Okay, and we'll take a closer look at that in a second. Then we have 2 smaller boxes left. One of them contains the hatch, magnetically held, and 2 wingtips or vertical stabilizers. And this is actually the heaviest box of them all. Okay, so this box contains one motor, one of their Toka motor, and this is a 2207 motor. Really? 2207? Yeah, 2207 and a half. 2450 kV, so this is basically the same kind of motor they'd use on a 5-inch quadcopter. That is different than what I expected actually, and also different from the spec pages or the product pages I've seen so far. Interesting. This is well, a more powerful setup than I was expecting. I was expecting a motor in the range of 2004 or 2005, and again this is 2207 and a half. Okay, that is a powerful motor for a small little plane. Very powerful actually. Hot damn! Hot damn! Okay, with that, yeah, okay, interesting. I will be building the plane with this motor, why not? I've got it. I do have smaller motors, and I'd say that the plane can be flown, definitely actually, be flown with a smaller setup. With this motor the plane will be more powerful, so more takeoff torque and higher top speed. The amps will also be higher, and therefore your flight times. Or you'll need a bigger battery. In fact, with this motor being quite big, 2207 and a half, and it's at the rear of the plane, right? You will need a bigger battery to balance the plane out. Keep that in mind. Let's see what more I have. I've got some servos and probably plastic gear servos. Okay. But they do look a little big. These aren't 9 gram servos. I'd say 12 gram servos. Yeah, okay, that might be appropriate for this big motor setup. If you run this plane on a smaller motor, you will probably get away with 9 gram servos. What more do I have? Quite a lot. We've got 4 propellers. I think there will be 2 sizes for propellers in this bag. I've got me an ESC, and I'm not sure what the specs of this ESC are. I'd say that a plane like this, 40 amps should be enough. Depending on the setup, of course, but okay, I've got another bag with propellers. These look to be bigger. In fact, these look to be 5 inch? Yeah, these look to be 5 inch, and then these look, well, actually also 5 inch. In that case, the pitch is probably different. Then, damn, I got more propellers. A goodie bag. We'll take a closer look at this goodie bag. This is important, so we'll take a closer look at that in a second. I've got me, what are these? What are these? Mamba Mini, oh, a BSC. Oh, that's, yeah, okay. That makes sense, right? I've got me an ESC here. An ESC, which doesn't include a BEC, right? And you do want to power, for instance, your receiver and such, and your servos. BEC, 5 volt BEC. And this, another, okay, I got me 2, a spare one. Basically, you'd only need 1. And you don't need this Mamba one, but if you order this plane from Diatone itself, it makes sense to order yourself a 5 volt BEC, again, to power your receiver and servos. And I've got me some rubber gummy things. Oh, these are, yeah, these are protective pads which will go over the servos. Yeah, okay, interesting. And it, completely different than what I was expecting. Funny. This looks rubbery, but should work. And that's everything I got. Let's zoom in and have a look at this goodie bag. Remember that I already had me a couple of bags of these propellers with the plane, 5 inch 3-blade propellers, and I am not completely sure whether any propeller will come with the kit, the airframe only, maybe not. So 5 inch, and these are 5 by 5 pitch, right, 3 blades, and then in the goodie bag, in the care package, we see a lot of things, but we also see some extra propellers. These are 6 inch propellers, 6 by 4s. And that makes these propellers the 3S option with a 2450 kV motor. 6 inch would work out well on 3S, I'd say. Pretty typical and efficient setup for an RC airplane. Then with these 5 inch propellers, I'd say 4S, right? Slightly smaller propeller, higher voltage. So let me see, we got ourselves a strap, and a nice quality strap with a metal buckle. Anti-skid. Not the crap that comes with a lot of RC airplanes. If in fact you are new to multirotors, or if you haven't flown multirotors at all, Diatone is in the multirotor business, and in multirotor land we use very nice straps. We've moved on, so to speak. That's, if you haven't flown multirotors, that is one of the benefits of the multirotor scene. Straps have become better. Also, ESCs have become smaller because of the multirotors. Okay, so we get a strap. We get one mount, and this is probably for a DJI, so a digital FPV, DJI air unit to mount it into the airframe. Very nice that you get that. I might actually even use it, but I don't have an air unit for this plane yet, but definitely an option. If the plane turns out to fly well, An air unit, in case you don't know, costs approximately $200, so it's not inexpensive. But again, if this plane turns out to fly well, it might be worth it. Then we also have this, also a mount. I'm not completely sure. Might be for a Vista, yeah. Also a digital FPV setup, and this here would then be a support for your antenna, I'd say. Not completely sure, but that's what I think it's for. Also, you see some mounting holes for flight controllers, for instance. So that is nice. We get other mounts as well. These are actually very nice. I'll show you these again when we have a look at the fuselage. But this one on your left is for your battery. So these slits in the wooden plate are for the strap. And these holes are to mount it in the fuselage. Again, I'll show you what that's for or how that works in a second. This one over here is also to mount in the fuselage. And you can then also mount on this here plate your flight controller. 30.5 by 30.5 mounting holes and 20 by 20 mounting holes. That is if you want to outfit this airplane with Betaflight or iNav or any other kind of flight controller based stabilizer. And that way you can have an OSD, for instance, and you can add a GPS to this airplane. I'm not interested in that, but that's definitely an option. And that's again what this plate here is for. And I'll show you how these are mounted in the frame in a second. Then we've got servo links and control horns, and yeah, obviously those will go into the wings and the control surfaces, elevators, ailerons, plastic, and a lot of screws, and 2 of them obviously. Okay, we've got some screws, and these screws are to mount these mounting brackets, mounting plates. We get a motor mounting cross, and this one looks to be glass fiber. I'm not completely sure. I would have preferred one from carbon fiber or aluminium. Glass fiber, yeah, will probably work, but it's a little thin. I'd say 2 millimeters, 2.5 max. Yeah, tell me what you think. Glass fiber? I never use glass fiber mounts. I'm sure they tested it. Well, actually, I'm not sure, I don't know. But we'll see how this works. I will be using this mount and we'll see where we end up with that. Then this is an in-between, also basically part of the motor mount, and this is plastic. This will screw into the back of the fuselage, which we will take a look at in a second. And then these... okay. I have no idea. Huh. What the hell? You know what? I will be doing a separate build video on this airplane, so by then I might know what these are. For now... these look to be actually camera mounts. Yeah, these look to be camera mounts. You can see angle adjustment holes over here, and then a center pivoting hole. And yeah, okay. Yeah, these are definitely camera mounts, and we also get 2 protective hoods for your lens, and these are often used in, again, DJI digital setups. So nice that they provide that with the plane. They definitely didn't have to, and we get some Velcro. With sticky back, yeah, Velcro. To, I'm not sure, maybe mount your lipo, right? Yeah, that'll be useful to mount your lipo. So that's everything we got. Let's have a close look at the center section of our plane, the fuselage. Alright, one fuselage with a magnetically held hatch. With a very nice or comfortable handle over here to take off that hatch, and that's needed because the magnets are pretty strong. You might have come across warnings about this plane from Diatone itself that you need to make sure that you keep the hole in the front of the airplane closed if you don't run an FPV setup. See, if this hole over here is too big, you'd have air pressure build up in the fuselage, which could potentially blow off this hatch. But honestly, yeah, I guess it's possible, but again, pretty strong magnets, so that's nice. Yeah, okay, so and actually before I continue, I should correct myself. Here you have that motor mounting cross, glass fiber 2mm, and I showed you this plastic piece. This is not just an extra part of the motor mount, but it's a shim. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see that, but it's a little thicker on this side than on this side. This is actually an angle adjuster. With this you can angle the motor to the left or the right or whatever you want to counter the torque of the motor. You probably know that especially with these flying wings, which don't have a rudder, you can end up with a twisting motion of the airplane at takeoff. Well, actually a lot of airplanes have that. And to counter that, you can use this shim to angle the motor a little. More on that in my assembly video. In the fuselage we see a lot of room, that's one thing, and we see these two wooden rails. What are those for? Well, those are actually for your battery mount, this thing here over here, and you can hopefully see that the holes in your battery mount correspond with all these holes. And with that you can well, adjust the spot at which you mount your battery mount. Very convenient, and also obviously needed to figure out, or when you are figuring out your CG, or maybe you want your flight controller over here and the lipo over here, or the other way around. With this setup, very flexible, right? And you can well, easily adjust things. Very, very nice. And the same thing goes for this plate for your flight controller. Also corresponding holes for those two rails. Very nice. I hadn't seen this setup in airplanes first. Maybe you have, tell me in the comment section below. And the second thing you might have noticed is this here wire. Huh? It looks like a servo wire, right? But only 2 strands. And what the hell is that for? Well, let me actually hook up some electronics and then I'll show you. Alright, I've quickly hooked up an ESC and a receiver so that I can hook up a lipo, and once I do, I've got me some navigation LEDs at the rear of the plane. Very, very nice. Does it actually show up on camera? Yeah, you should be able to see the red and the green LED. Very, very nice. I didn't know that the plane actually came with the LED, so this is a nice bonus. Very, very nice option. I have no idea how visible these will be in daylight. We will see in the flight video, but it's definitely a nice feature to have. Very, very nice. The next thing I want to show you, we are zoomed in at the front of the airplane, and over here you see these 3 shapes, or at least I hope you'll be able to see them. These are for your FPV antenna. So in case you want to run the DJI setup, in the case of an air unit you'll have 2 antennae, and these spots over here are for those antennae. You can simply press those shapes out of the lid and then you'll have a spot for your antenna. If you run an analog FPV setup or the DJI Vista setup or Caddx Vista setup, you'll have 1 antenna, and for that you have this center shape, which again you can simply press or pull out, and then you'll have a cavity for your FPV antenna. Very nice. That'll work out great. I will be flying the airplane first line of sight. I always do. I first want to know if the airplane actually flies well before I slot in any kind of FPV setup. But again, I might opt for a DJI air unit, and for that I will be using these here holes. Moving on to the back of the airplane, we see a plastic molded motor mount construction assembly thing with a spot for 4 screws will probably be self-tapping screws. Fine, no problem there. And that also makes production of this airplane a little more expensive, I can imagine. Also we see this vent hole to pull air out of the fuselage, right, for cooling. And also to keep that lid on, so also a plastic piece. And then on the bottom we also, this is elaborate actually, I'd call this. We got two skids. You will be landing on thin pieces of the foam. So yeah, I'm not completely sure. Does this make grabbing onto the airplane easier? I don't think so. But yeah, you'll be skidding along these two rails, if you will. I would have liked to have seen some kind of plastic cover for these, or maybe stick on thin plastic something to keep your airplane looking nice, but yeah, it is what it is. Maybe you can add some tape to this, right, to keep it looking good. Now, if you were considering this plane or a plane like this, you would want to know what kind of tools you'd need. Maybe what kind of glue, or if you'd have to be able to solder. That last thing depends on whether you want to use an FPV setup or a flight controller or a flight controller. If you simply hook up an ESC and a receiver and the servos, you won't be able to solder. Right? You will have to probably do some soldering if you want to add an FPV setup and again a flight controller and such. So yeah, take that in consideration. Then let me see, what kind of tools do you need to assemble this plane? Well, obviously a screwdriver to put the motor in place. Yeah, some glue, right? Well, actually you will need some glue. You will have to glue the wings to the fuselage. And for that you could U-pour, you could use hot glue, you could use shoe glue, I guess. Let me see, what else? Contact adhesive, CA glue. And in that case well actually in all cases, do be mindful that you want to lightly sand all surface you will be gluing onto. Lightly sand it just to take off any kind of mold release grease, and that'll give the glue a bit more grip, and yeah, that should work out fine. So glue in between the wings and the fuselage, but also in between the wings and the wing tips, vertical stabilizers. And I don't think you need any other tools or supplies for this airplane. Yeah, obviously you need a radio and a lipo, and yeah, again this is only an airframe, so you'll have to order a motor and ESC and some servos, but still pretty simple. And again, I'll be doing a separate build video for this airplane. If you've never built any airplane, definitely have a look at that. So guys, that was a first look at the Diatone RIPPER R690. And again, I'll be doing a build video. I'll be doing flight videos, probably line of sight and FPV, and I'll be doing a review. And again, I'm excited to see an airplane from Diatone, right? Maybe other drone manufacturers will follow suit. In fact, you might have noticed that LDA-RC has a very similar plane in white. Yeah, very similar, from the same molds actually. And I'm not completely sure whether it'll be completely the same. Maybe this one has a mount which the other one doesn't, and that other one has mounted. This one doesn't. This one is grey and the LDRC version is white. They will definitely be very similar. Also, both will be from EPP Foam, which works, right, for FPV wings. We've seen a lot of FPV wings in EPP the last years. That works. Easily repairable and resilient, so that's nice. Alright, before I sign off, I want to give you a couple of observations. I've done a test fit of everything and that seems fine. Everything fits together well so far, so that's nice, and we'll see how that everything works out in my build video. But again, for now, test fit looks good. Also, this plane does not come with any kind of decals, so that is a bit of a shame. I've asked Diatone about this, and they don't plan to supply any kind of decals with this plane. And that's okay, but if you want to fly this airplane line of sight, I'd add some kind of decal to distinguish the top from the bottom. I definitely will. I'll probably add some wing tape to either the top or the bottom. So again, if you get this plane before you toss it up, it's a pretty small plane and I expect it to be pretty fast. So before you lose track of it, add some wing tape or, well, tape. Maybe some reflective aluminium foil tape. Not too much because that's heavy. But again, something to distinguish the top from the bottom. That'll help you out. And for now, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank Diatone for sending me this plane so I can show it to you. Be on the lookout for my build video and flight videos. If you are left with questions, hit me up a comment down below. Catch you on the next video. Bye bye.